Welcome to the NC Spin After Spin. Additional comments from our panelists just available on our website. I want to ask each of you, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show, but you didn't? Chris Fitzsimon.
I think one of the lessons of this whole HB2 debacle isn't about the substance of the bill, although obviously I have strong feelings about that. It's the process, and we mentioned that briefly. But folks who call for legislative limits on legislative sessions, in states where they do that, they have a lot of special sessions that come in for a day or two. I think the lesson of this is that's not a good idea. It's impossible to take a complicated bill, get it before a General Assembly, release it that day, have any sort of meaningful debate and public input in one day, and that's why we have the legislative process. So I hope one of the lessons learned is that complicated issues, if you're going to have a special session, you better be here a week, you better have outside testimony, you better have experts talking, you better have plenty of time for debate. The point of a special session isn't to get in and get out when you're dealing with legislation.
Otherwise, you just pass bad legislation.
Or ones that we're still second guessing and adjusting.
Yeah. Connie, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
I wish I could have expanded a little bit more on coal ash. It's a very complicated issue. It's a very expensive issue for ratepayers because Duke Energy has said in newspaper articles that it will cost between $2 billion and $10 billion for the coal ash cleanup. So if there's a way that they could have that coal ash reprocessed and recoup some of the expense of that coal ash for the electric ratepayers, it's a win-win. You put it in concrete where the hazard of public safety hazard of it is gone. You have electric rates that are kept lower because you're making money off selling it, and then you build stronger buildings and roads.
And you surprised me by telling we're buying coal ash from China?
We have been approached from China and India to purchase from them. It is so difficult for us right now to buy coal ash. It is impacting our ability to do projects. And so we now have vendors who are coming to us. China and India are trying to get rid of the stuff. It's the quality that we need.
I thought we were too.
Well, obviously not hard enough. And on top of it, with shipping costs coming down, it can be shipped to Norfolk and then brought in by barge. So it will be ironic.
Well, I think we ought to tell them that they can only ship it into Wilmington or Morehead City. Dennis, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
Well, as you know, there are 4 mega sites vying for a large manufacturing facility to locate in North Carolina. And what we don't see is that there are people and companies that are investing millions of dollars into these sites, improving the infrastructure. You saw where the North Carolina Railroad put about $18 million into a site up in the Randolph-Guilford area. Duke Energy's putting money in to improve infrastructure in certain sites. So this is a major investment by companies and by individuals in the state to build up these mega sites to attract companies to come here. And it just struck me as I really wonder what House Bill 2, what effect that might have on all of that investment.
John, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
I made reference to the fact that we're a closely divided state politically and that the two parties have mid-40s as their base vote, which kind of surprises people sometimes because they hear, wait a minute, Republicans are only a third of the electorate, and depending on how you measure it, Democrats are either at registration about 40% or in identification about a third, and about a third are independents. But it's important to remember that independence is a really big category. There are people who are registered and unaffiliated who really don't have a strong party preference. But there are other people who are registered unaffiliated that vote Republican 90% of the time, Democrat 85% of the time. And when you put them into the mix, you really do get left with only about 10 to 12% of the population who are really swing vote. And that's, you can see in the outcomes where most Republican candidates that lose get in the mid-40s, most Democratic get at least in the mid-40s. Most Democratic candidates who lose get at least in the mid-40s.
And that's because of that 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching the After Spin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.